Welcome in. We are live to talk about the 2021 versus 2024 defense. Before you say this is automatically crazy, would you consider Nick Martin's 140 tackles better than, let's say, a Malcolm Rodriguez almost 130 tackles his senior year? That's fair. Would Cody Walterscheid end up the same guy now as he was back then? Probably not, which means this makes sense to dive into why this year's Cowboy defense could be and should be better even in 2021.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome into the live show today as we've got a couple guests to help us break down the differentiation between the 2024 defense and the 2021 defense. Yeah, I know some people think that it's slightly crazy to say, but I think 2024 D could be every bit as good, if not better. Before we get rocking and rolling, today we're partially brought to you by Game Time Tickets. Get in on the action today. Right now, you need to download the Game Time app so you never miss a beat on the best tickets in the game. Make sure you download the Game Time app today so you can get $20 off your first purchase by using the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word. I'm going to roll the guests right in. Ladies and gentlemen, these gentlemen have not been foreign to the show, but it's been a while. This is the perfect way I can think to kick off the first day of fall camp as the football season has officially begun. Trent and Reagan, how are we feeling, gentlemen? I appreciate your time. I'm very excited, as we all are, to break down this Cowboy football season. Trent, I'll start with you first. How are we feeling, buddy? We're here, man. We've made it.
It's getting close. Long summer, when it inches into July, it's day by day. It goes by super slow. So I try to enjoy the summer as much as I can, but no football's around the corner, and man, it's exciting.
Reagan, I'll let you kind of start us off here, brother, man. Whenever you look at 21 versus 24 defense, what is the first knee-jerk reaction that you would have had before looking at the stats and the metrics, comparing 21 to 24 D? Is it crazy, or do you think it makes at least a little bit of sense?
It feels crazy on the initial thought, but I think the more that you kind of critically think, the more you kind of see the weird similarities between Jim Knowles in his second season and what we're going to see from Brian Nardo, who I have been saying since the beginning was a good hire, and I kind of got crucified for that. But I truly believe that they have a lot of similarities when you just look at – I know the scheme feels different, but the fundamentals are there too. So I don't know if it's as crazy as people think.
I could not agree more. Trent, whenever you look at Brian Nardo coming into the season, before we go kind of player for player and break down 24 versus 21, what is something that you're expecting to see out of Brian Nardo this upcoming season that maybe we didn't see last year, or is it an expansion on what we already saw last year?
Well, first I want to say, in comparison, Reagan brought up Jim Knowles. One thing I really do like about Nardo is he's young, and you can tell he's a player's coach. He's getting some really good recruits in that we haven't seen on the defensive side of the ball in quite a while. Every defensive guy that we've talked to, you or I have talked to, they all love Nardo. I think my biggest thing with Nardo is I don't feel like his defense is as complex. So to me, it's more so can we limit the big plays? Can we stop the big plays? Last year, like I said, it was expected we were going to give up some big plays, but I feel like we gave up too many. So to say, looking on paper, I don't think it's crazy because we have a really good defensive roster. But it might be too soon to say that they're just as good or better than the 2021 D.
Well, while we wait on the comments section to get fired away, there we go. We got one here. I was going to kind of bridge the gap a little bit and simply started off by saying, before we kind of turn it over to Reagan here, as it pertains to comparing the two and giving up the big plays, I do believe that we're going to make a concerted effort to be extremely aggressive, right? This is a team that returns virtually every single starter. I know sometimes people want to make a little bit of a difference between 21 and 21 20 and 21 returning starters. To me, Lyric Rawls, right, makes that number 21 guy. But he's going to have some competition, which is absolutely phenomenal, whether it be Trey Rucker. If he's nursing a little bit of an injury, it gives the ground over to Kobe Hilton, which I think a lot of us expect to have a very big season. I think we're going to give up plenty of big plays, but I also think that when we roll the dice and take the risks, we're going to get to the quarterback and we're going to cause havoc more often than not. Do you see it somewhat similar, Reagan, or what's your take here, brother man?
I think a lot of people forget the number one way that Jim Knowles has been scored on, especially even at Ohio State. It isn't through dink and dunk teams. I mean, he dominates the Penn States. I know we lost to him, but he dominated Baylor. You just look at the type of teams that played. The teams who struggled against defensively were big plays, like Oklahoma, when he was at the helm. So I think the same things with Nardo. It's more of like hey, let's stop the long drives. Let's get down in the TFLs, not let them run the ball, force them to go over the top. The unfortunate thing, I think the difference last year and compared to the Jim Knowles defense in 21 and something that we may struggle with in 24 is we had a lot of secondary help with Trey Sterling and Colby Harvell-Peel. I'm not sure we have that type of talent this year in the secondary, which helped, I think, cap off that big play mindset where you're like, hit us deep if you have to. So we'll see how much improvement there is with what was the youngest secondary in the Big 12 last year. A lot of people forget. So we'll see.
So, yeah, we might not have quite as much help. But with that being said, Trent, before we go player for player, is there anything else you have to add? If not, go ahead and pick the player, buddy, and we'll just start this thing off here.
I mean, I think Reagan hit the nail on the head perfectly. Start off player, we starting off from 2021 or a current player?
Well, let's just dive right into the Malcolm Rodriguez versus Nick Martin conversation, right? So last season, obviously, Nick Martin was able to lead the league in so many different categories, including tackles, bringing up 140, which was one of the greatest, if not the greatest. Oh, wait, it was the greatest in Oklahoma State history. So Malcolm Rodriguez is viewed by all of us as one of the best Cowboys to ever do it, especially at the linebacker position. Would you guys consider Nick Martin to be above Malcolm Rodriguez?
Go ahead.
I love Nick Martin. I don't want to be the guy. Because
I'll be the guy. The answer is yes. Nick Martin is a little bit better than Malcolm, okay? I said it.
I don't agree with you. And for one principle only, Nick Martin as a true linebacker is better. Okay, when you look at just being in the trenches, getting those big tackles on the running back down the center of and through the gaps, he's better in that regard. He does not have the agility and the speed that Malcolm Rodriguez had because he started at safety. I think that's a big thing a lot of people forget about is he developed that agility and that unique quickness at linebacker that I don't think Nick Martin quite has. And the thing that Knowles really liked about him is because we dropped back in sort of a 4-2-5 formation quite often, he was able to be a coverage guy, whether it was zone or man, and he had the speed to keep up with a lot of the receivers, especially the tight ends, which was a huge piece of our plays that a lot of people don't remember about Malcolm. So I think that's the difference. In terms of pure linebacker, sure, Nick Martin, I think, actually is probably more of an NFL guy, which is funny because Malcolm has taken the league by storm. But at the same time, I think that Nick Martin is just a better true linebacker. But in terms of as a holistic player, I would go with Malcolm.
All right, that's fair. Trent, what do you say? You got Malcolm or do you got Nick Martin, brother man?
Man, it's hard to say because both of those guys, they're playmakers. They make plays, and both of them are very underrated. Malcolm Rodriguez did not get the national respect that he should have, and a lot of people didn't even know who he was until they watched Hard Knocks. And
should have won awards, man. Snubbed.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Nick Martin and OSU, we've had some very good linebackers over the last 10 years that I don't know what it is about the position, but they don't get that much love. And so seeing Nick Martin attention is cool. The edge, like I love Malcolm as a guy because he came in, he didn't have, I mean, I don't think any of us, a wrestler from Wagner, Oklahoma, I didn't think that he had a chance at getting a bunch of playing time. He just kind of came in and went over the hearts of all the OSU faithful. And so it's hard to choose against him, but I do think overall true linebacker Nick Martin is the guy. And it's not far off. Like it's a lot closer than you think, but I choose Nick Martin.
Well, you broke up a little bit there, but I think we got the bulk of it. And I would say, right, the biggest differentiation to me is, like you'd mentioned, Reagan, Malcolm had that offensive background and the defensive background, which allowed him to play safety very, very early on at Oklahoma State. And then it was a little bit of a process to get him through the body by glass system, to get him big enough to where he was up to 220. When he came to Oklahoma State, I'm pretty sure he was 185 pounds, right? Maybe 190.
Yeah.
And it took him quite a while to get up to that size. Nick Martin came in a little bit bigger and a little bit more meat on the bone, I guess you could say. And then he was able to, year one, body by glass, like 16, 17 pounds, which is something that took a while for Malcolm to get. So I think that Malcolm is maybe the best linebacker of our lifetime. I think Nick Martin has the ability to showcase why this season he should be considered a little bit better. Hey, let's skip the beat over here. What about Devin Harper, right? Somebody checked the stats, but I'm pretty sure he had 97 tackles his senior season. If you stack that up against somebody like Colin Oliver was a freshman All-American. I know last season took a little bit of a dip, but he still produced over 130 tackles in his time as a Cowboy. What would y'all say if you were to have to pick between Devin Harper and Colin Oliver?
Want me to go first again?
Go, Reagan. Get it, buddy.
This time I'm gonna go with the new buck. I'm gonna go with Colin Oliver. And the reason is because we have seen this guy go from defensive end to linebacker and stay elite in both positions, which you don't see very often. Okay, especially because Colin Oliver in his freshman season as a defensive end was maybe the best in the entire country. One of definitely best in the Big 12 to me. I mean, he had, I'm looking at it now because I wouldn't remember off the top of my head, but 11.5 sacks. And then you put him at linebacker and he still gets 6 on 15.5 TFLs, which is the same amount he had as a defensive end. That's scary. Like, this guy's not just Oklahoma State Big 12 good. This dude's Sunday good. And you're going to see him as a first-round pick if he produces again this year. However, I will say that this needs to be the number one adjustment by Nardo. He needs to be back at edge. He's most effective there. And it's not a lot of people. One of the biggest problems we had on defense last year is the reason the big plays were being given up was because we couldn't get to the dang quarterback, even though we had the best defensive line in the Big 12. And I think that's because one of the things we were missing so much was Colin Oliver screaming off the edge and chasing the guy 24/7, which we did for the previous 2 years because Colin Oliver was just an absolute monster. The thing that people forget so much is the amount of pressures he had, which was like top 3. All 3 years he's been a player at Oklahoma State. So I think Colin Oliver, and I love Devin Harper as a player, but I think, and this is the one that I think is probably going to be the biggest smoke in terms of the gap, because I think Colin Oliver is a round one guy.
What do you say, Trent? Who do you got?
I agree with that. Shout out Devin Harper. That's my dog. But Colin Oliver, just the fact, like Reagan said, the guy played 2 positions. He had a very successful time on the D end, and then he got moved to linebacker. He just did it, and he was still very successful. I mean, he was more successful on the line for sure, but he, like I said, he still made a big difference playing linebacker. He's just an athlete. He's very good, and I agree. He's definitely a Sunday guy. I don't know if I'd say he's, being biased, I want to say he's a round 1 pick for sure, but I think he needs to beef up a little bit more to get there. But I expect him to have a huge year, and yeah, I don't think you can compare that one. It's definitely Colin Oliver.
So I'm going to say Colin Oliver as well, right? One of the reasons that I wanted to originally lean a little bit towards the Devin Harper route is because of the moments, right? The moments that he was able to step up to the occasion to take down Caleb Williams multiple times after getting beat multiple times. His effort in that bedlam is going to go down in the history books, right? But then same with Colin Oliver, right? Without him, that same game doesn't happen. Right. So
I was going to say Devin Harper in that game, he had the biggest play until we gave the ball back to OU, and then Colin Oliver had the biggest play in the game. So like I said, shout out Devin Harper. He was good, but yeah, no comparison.
I actually, before we move on to the next guy, I think that was something we all overlooked is Devin Harper might be one of the best big moment guys we've ever had defensively. I can't think of another player where you're just like, where's Devin Harper been? And then in the fourth quarter, when we needed to tackle for loss more than anything, he just flies in out of nowhere. You're like, oh, there's one of the best players on the team. He was just that type of guy. So I think he deserves more respect for that. I think I kind of overlooked that, but yeah.
popping in here, and I wanted to put this on the screen because Robert is awesome. And also, speaking of COVID, we may or may not have a few players right now with COVID that might be missing a couple days, or they maybe not be. I don't know. But there's rumors going around potentially that COVID is about to rear its ugly head again. I can't stand it, but it is what it is. We now have to make it part of the process. So let's jump to a position that I think unanimously we'll all agree. Would you put Christian Holmes over Cam Smith? I think that's pretty logical to do so, yes. Okay.
Easy.
Fair play. All right, so devil's advocate, though, what do you guys expect to see out of Cam Smith this season to kind of get him a little bit closer to what we could expect out of somebody like a Christian Holmes in his last year as a Cowboy? Go ahead, Reagan.
I expect quite a bit more. I think everyone does, honestly. That our defensive backs were a big problem last year, and the biggest, I think, talking point is that they were expected to be a lot better. They're one of actually the more just recruiting-wise talented defensive back crews we've ever had. So I expect a lot more. I think Cam Smith has a ton of talent. But ironically, I'm actually really excited about Cale Smith as well. I think he's going to step up quite a bit. But I don't know, man. I think that if there's an area that I'm most concerned about, it's definitely there.
Corner?
The corner, yeah. I'm fairly concerned, especially because there's a lot of big play offenses this year in the Big 12. We got Utah coming in with, super senior 20th year Cam Rising. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think if there's a player that you need to see step up and take that Christian Holmes level leap, it's Cam Smith.
See,
well, Trent, before I give you that one, since we all probably agree there, is it fair to say that we all agree on the other side of the ball as well, and we would put Jarek Bernard-Converse above Corey Black?
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment?
Easy. And I want to add to that, the Cam Smith. I don't think it's just Cam Smith. Corey Black, too. Corey Black, he had some good plays, some big plays last year, but I feel like for as long as he's been in the system, he got burnt quite a bit last year. I just expect Cam and Corey to both be more aggressive. I don't know, just sometimes I felt like maybe it was the new defensive schemes, they're a little lackadaisical out there. So I agree with Reagan, that's kind of a concern, but I think another year in the system will definitely help out. And they both, like Cam Smith has all the talent in the world. He's very good. It's just you gotta put it out there. You can't just say it. You gotta put it out there. So him and Corey, yeah, Jarek Bernard-Converse definitely over Corey Black any day of the week. Serve it up on a plate.
You know what? I actually think I'm going to go the opposite direction here.
All right.
I think Corey Black gets way too much disrespect.
Really?
I actually think he's better than Cam Smith.
Right?
I'm so sorry. That's my hot take of the podcast. I think Corey Black is going to be better than Cam Smith this year, and my reason is just based on a pure talent level. I think Corey Black. The reason he got so much disrespect is he kept being put on a slot man throughout a lot of the year. And whenever you have a man versus man type of scheme that Nardo was running a lot, where our safeties were mano-a-mano, and then you would blitz the corners. He had I think he was figuring things out with this roster, honestly. So I think there was a ton of situations where Black was burnt, so to speak, but it was more about a confusion in the system and a breakdown in coverage, unless him actually, whenever he's one-on-one with a receiver, getting completely toasted. I didn't see that very often. It was a lot more just like he shouldn't be there. So I wonder if it is more of a talent issue than it is actually just getting used to a brand new scheme. And I think it's more the latter.
Yeah, and so that's why I said that. It could be, like I said, Corey Black is phenomenal. I really wish we could have got his younger brother, Kobe. But yeah, tough. Like I said, it could be the playbook, just getting used to it. Like I said, you can't expect those guys to come out first year, new DC to, be all-stars. And like I said, it's just a part of the process. So yeah, like I said, Corey and Cam are both very talented. And like I said, this year we ask for more, we'll get more from them because it's another year in the system. So I'm not dogging Corey. I think the guy is great. He's really good. And he's been a system guy for a couple of years now for us. So yeah, I mean, it just has to be lackadaisical from getting mixed up on coverages or whatnot last year. So,
Yeah. Don't bring up Kobe Black again, or I'll lose my mind thinking about how much Texas paid him.
How dare you? How dare you?
I can't believe I actually tuned in to watch his commitment thinking that we had a chance.
What up, Buffalo? And we appreciate you, BR7. Yeah, Kenyatta Wright. He's going to be huge for Oklahoma State. Let's shift here. So let's disregard any of the conversations about Kendall Daniels potentially, doing more closer to the line, being closer to the box. Let's just keep it for what it is, right? Right now, he is a free safety. Would you put Kendall Daniels above Colby Harbell-Peel or Trey Sterling?
No.
All right, Trent, roll with that. Come on, holler at me.
Because he's not a true safety. I mean, he would play closer to the line in high school. He was he came into OSU, like I said, he didn't complain about having to switch positions and learn the position. He didn't. He's done fairly well, but he just doesn't look comfortable there. And so the last interview I watched of him talking about getting up there and playing close to the line, he was super excited about it. And I think we're going to see a big difference this year. I know you said keep him as safety, but I think we're going to see a whole new exciting of Kendall Daniels that we got bits and pieces of as a safety, but it's going to be a whole new level this year.
So, Reagan, are you the same? If you were to make Kendall Daniels strictly a free safety in this conversation, you would go with a Colby Harbell-Peel or a Trey Sterling over Kendall?
I'm struggling. Colby Harbell-Peel is my favorite Oklahoma State player of all time, so it's hard for me. Him and Trey Sterling actually are pretty close because I love their mentality. They were everything that embodied that 2021 team spirit. So it's so difficult to say anything other than they're my favorite. They're amazing. They should be getting more respect in the NFL. The whole package.
Yeah.
Dude, it's hard. I think from Kendall Daniels, if he put on 20 pounds, is the next Malcolm Rodriguez for us. And that's just the truth. That's just the truth. He's so good in coverage when he wants to be. I just don't think he likes to be there. I don't think it's fun. He loves chasing. You see it every time. He loves chasing dudes down and destroying them. That's his favorite activity on a Tuesday evening. So, I don't know. I think it's 50-50. From a talent perspective, I think Kendall Daniels is significantly more talented from a natural talent, like I said, standpoint. Positionally, though, Colby and Trey, but I don't think it matters much because I don't think he's going to be playing there anyway. So, but yeah, I guess I'll go with Colby and Trey.
Okay, fair play. Now let's go to safety here. Who would you rather have, Lyric Rawls, Trey Rucker, or, we don't know a lot about Kobe Hilton, but so stick with Lyric. Would you put Lyric above Tanner McAllister? Because I definitely would.
No way.
Really? You would take him?
I love Tanner McAllister, man. I don't know why that guy just had so much swagger to him. Like, I don't know. I just felt like he always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. I don't know what it is. He just one of those guys. We all have those players, like Reagan just said. He loves Colby Harbell-Peel and Trey Sterling. Like, Tanner McAllister was just kind of that guy for me. Like, super nice dude. Met him. He was a great guy. And he was a playmaker, man. He was smooth how he played. I don't know. Maybe, like I said, that's me being biased just because I don't know. But I would take Tanner McAllister for sure.
Cody, I want to hear your reasoning first before I say anything.
Well, I think Lyric Rawls, especially now that he's had, a little bit more time to dedicate himself to the facilities, I think his understanding of the game is going to be more advanced than Tanner McAllister. I know Tanner McAllister was able to kind of go help Jim Knowles, but if you notice, even when he went to Ohio State, I wouldn't say he was exactly the same player, which means that some of the spacing and everything was pretty important that the other Cowboys, kind of brought to the fold. I also think that Lyric Rawls is much better when it comes to playing in the run game. Tanner McAllister was pretty decent, I would say, in coverage. He was pretty good in zone coverage, not so great in man coverage, but he was not the benefit in the run game that Lyric Rawls is. Lyric Rawls is borderline a linebacker. At least he hits and plays like a linebacker with the speed of a safety. I expect him to be faster this year as well. So that's why I have Lyric Rawls above Tanner McAllister. What do you think, Reagan? Correct me. Hit me.
Okay. Lyric Rawls, I don't know how good he's going to be this year, but I know last year, in my opinion, he was one of the weaker portions of our starting secondary. He really struggled. And I think it's because you hit it on the head. I was going to touch on this. he's just not fast enough. And I say that with a lot of respect because Lyric Rawls as a person, by the way, is phenomenal, and I hope he's really successful this year because I like him. He also has a really good family, so shout out to Lyric. But man, it's weird. We have a weird secondary. I think both Kendall Daniels and Lyric Rawls are like meant to be these weird hybrid free safety linebackers that are like an NFL's dream in terms of rotating them in and out of the lineup in certain packages. But I just don't know if he's a true safety. I don't know if he has the speed for that. We'll see. Again, I don't know if he slimmed down a little bit, got a little bit quicker step. If he can do that, he's going to be phenomenal because he has ridiculous instinct. I think that's his benefit. He just knows football, it feels like. And the way that he's able to chase down guys, and he made a lot of last-ditch plays for us last year. But unfortunately, I think he got burnt a little bit too much, which is why I've got to go with McAllister here, who I think is one of the most underrated players in Oklahoma State history. He wasn't just an Oklahoma State guy. You got to remember, he was Big Ten good. He was Ohio State starting good. That's how good McAllister was. Sure, Lyric, I think, has a ton of potential, but if you're looking at what we know, I think it's easily McAllister. Could it be Lyric? Sure, but again, McAllister proved himself even at Ohio State. So,
Reagan, you're throwing me off big time. I thought you were going to say it was Rawls at first, then you changed to McAllister. So. Okay, so we're on the same page then. All right, good deal. Yeah, Tanner McAllister, a dog. All
right, well,
no disrespect to Lyric, though. He's good.
He is.
He is. Do some shifting to the defensive line, and I'm pretty sure that I'll start off with saying something pretty crazy that at least get everybody a little bit up in arms. But before we do, ladies and gentlemen, I do have to remind all of you out here that sometimes it pays to pay the bills, or at least try to pay the bills occasionally. So we're going to try to do that. You got to get squared away today with Game Time tickets. Do not get caught flat-footed. You know, between the travel and the expenses and the craziness that comes with getting to events, don't let tickets be something that stops you or prevents you from watching the Cowboys dominate the Big 12 this season. Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, music, comedy, sports, theater, whatever. We got you covered with last-minute killer deals, all-in prices, views from the seat. The lowest price guarantee means all the guesswork is now out of the equation. Use the app that allows you to get the best deals all up to the beginning of the event and even an hour after it keeps going down. The all-in pricing allows you to find the features and show everything up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Make sure that you take all the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, make sure that you guys go download the game, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So I am going to start this off here with a little bit of a potential ruffling feather at the moment. I'm just going to come out and say it. When it comes to the defensive tackle position, Justin Kirkland is significantly better than Brendan Evers, and I know Brendan Evers is one of the all-time Cowboys. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? Explain to me why. Go ahead, Reagan. Fire.
Don't put me on the spot.
Here you are. On the big screen and all.
Man, you're making me talk against my favorite Oklahoma State teams. This is hard. But I actually agree with you in this case. I know we've disagreed a lot so far, but I actually agree. I think, especially when you look at it in terms of a full player, I think he's better. And I think this defensive line for Oklahoma State might be the best we've ever had. And I think that's scary because we've had some good defensive lines. And I think he's a big piece of that, especially because Nardo likes to play 3 down. You need a beefy, incredible defensive tackle, and I think he's that guy. I think he's him. So another potential really high draft pick for Oklahoma State if he decides to declare this year. Obviously, I think he might have to. But second round, third round range type of player. So, yeah, I agree with you.
I dig it. I see you smiling, Trent. Come on, man.
Here we go.
What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. I agree as well. 100%.
Fair play.
They're both good. They're both big dudes. But yeah, wasn't he pretty injury prone, if I recall? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I thought so. I thought so. I mean,
but when he was healthy, man, he was kind of dangerous. I will say.
Oh yeah, that dude was a monster. He was really good. But not to get off topic, Cody. But were we not going to compare Jason Taylor to anybody, or do you know that Jason Taylor is just going to go and win the fight? So you're not.
Well, I said Jason Taylor or Trey Sterling because
you did. Okay,
Trey
sorry.
Sterling started the season, and then he got hurt, and then Colby Harvell-Peel took over. So technically, Trey started, but Colby was the guy for most of the season because I think Trey got hurt in like week 2.
Okay, I guess I missed that. Okay, my fault.
You're fair. Here, I'll say the reason I would choose Justin Kirkland over Brendan Evers. Brendan Evers is an iconic Cowboy, but I think him battling through the adversity and the consistent level of injuries that he had to dealt with, it made him an all heart kind of Cowboy. Last year, I don't know if it was Trent or Reagan, but we alluded to the fact that the D-line didn't do enough statistically last season to be as beneficial. This season, I expect Justin Kirkland to not just be a dude that dominates an area of operation, but be more involved in getting the backfield and getting in the statistical categories. I think Justin Kirkland is more equipped physically to do that in an early time, and plus he doesn't have all the injury issues, so I think that's fair. We'll go over right next to him. Is Colin Clay better than Israel Antoine? Reagan, I see you struggling.
I don't like it. I don't like this comparison. I don't think they're even close to being the same type of player. But I understand why we have to do it. Oh, man. Colin Clay, I think I said – I may have tweeted this at some point, not to shout out my Twitter. It's not the intention there. But I think I said last year that he may have been our most underrated guy on the roster. He just made some, he didn't have crazy stats, but he was kind of scary. Trying to run away from this dude. He's just a terrifying person. I mean, a 300-pound defensive, probably bigger, 310 this year, running straight at your face. I just don't know if I would have fun with that as a player, but I think I'm going to go with Israel Antoine in this case, though, just because I think he had a lot more genuine impact than I think Colin Clay had last year. But the thing about Colin Clay is if he could add this much more speed, he would have had twice as many TFLs and sacks last year. He was this close to getting to the quarterback. How many times? The amount of pressures he was able to force. So I think that was the big thing about him. Because you look at him statistically and you're like, he only had 2 or 3 sacks or something like that. And I think this year, if he can add just a step more speed, he's going to be stupid dangerous, and that could easily change.
Well, he definitely got bigger in Rod Glass's, system. I think it's safe to assume he likely got faster. We're not sure. What do you think, Trent? Because you can make the case for Israel Antoine. There's a reason that he made the Jacksonville Jaguars roster and was able to contribute throughout the course of the season. So, I mean, that speaks to itself. But I think I would lean Colin Clay here because he's undervalued. I think he had 15 tackles at Arkansas, 16 tackles, a couple seasons ago. He hasn't really gone over the threshold of breaking that 20 sack season. I think this is going to be that year because we're going to be doing much more 4-man front. I know that the 3-3-5 is still kind of going to be the calling card, but we're hearing and seeing a lot more of this 4-man front. And we're not even talking about Obi Ezegbo, right, in the 4-man front. We're just talking about DTs. What do you think between Colin and Antoine, Trent?
I think it's too soon to pick Colin Clay, if that makes sense, over Antoine, because like you and Reagan said, last year he was a big guy. He was a force in the defense, but like Reagan said, if he was a little bit faster, I feel like he would have made much more impact for us. So if you ask me now, I'll lean Antoine, but that could change at the end of the season. I need to see more out of Colin Clay, but I'll give Colin Clay the benefit of the doubt. He's a dog on NCAA 25. I've gotten multiple sacks with that guy. He's really fast off the line and the game. So maybe that's good voodoo for us this coming season. But I also wanted to reply to Y-Zone about the McAllister. He was definitely way better at Oklahoma State than he was at Ohio State. And I think that kind of has to go with what Cody and Reagan said. He wasn't that great against the run, and we all know in the Big Ten they run the ball a bunch. So he had more of an impact at Oklahoma State for more throwing. But yes, I agree 100%.
Well, I'm gonna before, cause I want to answer that as well, because I know I was the person with McAllister and talking about the Ohio State translation. They ran two totally different styles of how they had to defend. Okay, so there's a lot more runs, so there's less chance of him getting in and getting the tackles. Oklahoma State has so many Big 12 has so many over the middle or sideline passes 10+ yards, so a corner's going to naturally have a lot more tackles. So I don't think tackles is the correct statistic to look at there. He had just as many pass breakups, just as many interceptions, same PFF rating in terms of like in coverage per snap. So I don't think that tackles is the correct statistic to judge McAllister at Ohio State, but just wanted to say that.
Yep.
Fair play. All right. So we're almost done with the positions. We'll speed this thing along here, and I'll start this one by asking a question. I'll start with you, Trent. Does anybody stack up to Tyler Lacey as a defensive end on this roster right now? This could be a bold take.
I would say the closest thing would be Colin Oliver, but they're two completely different players. Colin Oliver, he's so good because he's a little undersized on the D line, but he's just so fast. He can make big plays. Lacey was that big dude that's just going to bulldoze you over. He's going straight to the quarterback, right up the middle. Like Tyler Lacey, that's you can't compare. Like I said, I think I would try to compare Colin Oliver just because they're both playmakers, but they're still completely different players.
Well, here's something we can all agree on without having to go around the panel, and that is Cody Walterscheid is better now than he was then as the backup defensive end. So I think the competition between guys like Jaleel Johnson and Xavier Ross and Deshaun Brown and Cody Walterscheid, I think is going to allude to us being significantly better than most realize, kind of what Reagan was saying earlier. I think is that pretty much everybody? I think that is everybody on the defensive side of the ball, correct? So
I can think of it.
I think so. Hey, real
whenever
quick,
you
Reagan,
look at it, right? This is why I think I've been saying the 2024 defense can be better than the 2021 D, right? I think from a physical perspective, it's not even close. We are significantly, by a good country mile, bigger, stronger, and faster than 2021's defense. We also have much more returning starts, which is crazy because that 2021 squad was very senior laden, but not 35 seniors and 16 redshirt juniors senior laden. You know what I mean? That's another reason why I think this defense can be significantly better. And then I think the X factor is going to be Brian Nardo. Brian Nardo was massive in winning fourth quarters, last season. He got his butt whooped a decent amount of time for the first three quarters, but he won ball games in crazy ways in the fourth quarters. I expect that Brian Nardo to have a lot more figured out. All right, so we're going to skedaddle on over here to segment 2. Guys, a long time ago, it feels like a month ago, we were top 25 247 recruiting ball club. And it looked like we were well on our way to potentially having the greatest recruiting class in Oklahoma State history. Since then, the wheels have kind of fallen off, if we're going to be 100% realistic. Obviously, we have the news now of Adam Schobel. We didn't get John Schobel. We didn't get Michael Turner Jr. We didn't get John Denman. And, of course, we're losing all of these guys to fellow Big 12 schools. Michael Turner Jr. going to Baylor just blows my ever-loving mind. Coleman Patman going to Arizona, to me, doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. But where do you guys think we're headed towards? Because we still have a 4-star in Jaden Sanders from Kilgore, Texas, as a safety that we could pick up. We'll also have Nusi Tao Moipiao, the 6'3", 245-pound defensive end out of Salt Lake City or Saratoga Springs, Utah. Those are the 4-star guys that can really boost this class back in the top 30, top 25 standing. Have we missed the boat on a top 25 class? Or have you guys already given up on that being a thing?
Cody,
what are your thoughts?
What is our rank as of right now? Because I haven't looked at the recruiting rankings, to be honest. I've been so busy over the last month.
No, we're 50. We're 50.
49 was the last I saw.
We've dropped that much. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say I'm worried. No, I mean, Mike Gundy, he's going to get his players. And like I said, he's done really, really well this year recruiting. So, guys, some of those guys, like you said, Patman, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense with his brother being an alum at OSU. I really thought he was coming here for sure. But some of those guys, they're just going to go different. I'm not super upset about the Chauvel, or however you pronounce the name, quarterback transferring to TCU. I'm like, dude, if you're going to transfer 3 times in 4 months, I don't want you here. And that's no disrespect to the kid. We got Smith. We got plenty of guys that we're going to be okay on the quarterback. But Michael Turner, yeah, that's kind of a head scratcher. Baylor doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I mean, he'll probably transfer to OSU in a year when Aranda's fired. So it's okay. Not a big deal. So, yeah, I mean.
Atta baby, Trent.
Baby. No, I'm just being real. I'm just saying what no one else will say. I don't think he's going to make it after this year. So, haven't looked at Baylor's schedule either, but I just know they're not going to be that good. So.
Okay.
Oh, calm down over here, Luana. You know Deshaun's about to have a massive season. Yeah, not getting Turner, agree on Schobel. Yeah, honestly, guys, I hadn't had any conversations with Adam, right? But I had quite a few conversations with John. And I really, after he explained why Oklahoma State was, so big and they're visiting, and how the continuity and the coaching staff was very important to them, and the developmental side of the game is important to him and his family. And maybe TCU didn't provide that right away because of, the number of guys we've had on staff that we've had for over 12, 13, 14 years, right? But nonetheless, it is what it is. I think we're fine at quarterback, not only because of the quarterbacks we have on the roster right now, guys, but DeJuan Lofton has been talked about a lot by some of the guys as a name that's been standing out. On, the other side of the coin here, I think that it's fair to talk about Garrett Wilson, the 6'2", 220-pound Okie dual threat quarterback that is a PWO that's not playing like a PWO. Matter of fact, some of the freshmen on this roster did not know that he was a walk-on just because of the way he handled himself, carried himself, and threw the daggone football. So that's another reason why I'm not up in arms about the Adam Schobel thing, nor am I up in arms about what it's going to do to the rating. I think last year's class is number 60, right? But I think it's one of the more underrated classes that we've ever had with Lando Cleveland and Gunnar Wilson and Armstrong Nodum. The list goes on and on. I think you can throw Trey Griffiths up there as well. Whenever you guys look at the recruiting landscape, I mean, does it matter? Right?
Well, real quick, I want to say one more thing about. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, in the broad scheme of things, it's like we're always going to recruit in the 50s and 60s, and we're always going to be competing for Big 12 titles, right? Yeah, so of course it does matter. Perception matters as well, which is another metric that we all need to pay attention to. But I mean, at the end of the day, Reagan, what are your thoughts on this class, and does the number really matter at the end of the day?
Okay, so let's talk about this, because I am one of those people that has an extreme grudge against recruiting and the way that the metrics are, especially 247 on 3 garbage sites that just love big brands. And there are statistics to prove this, so don't come at me with the, oh, look how many 5 stars and 4 stars are actually NFL guys. It's not about the NFL. I'm sick of people using that metric. It's about college and the translation of success in college. How many of the last Heisman winners have been 5 stars? I want you to look that up. Anyway, that aside, the commits that we lost, a halfback and a quarterback. Guys, we got Zane Flores. We're fine for the next 4 years. No matter what happens with Bowman this year, it doesn't matter. You have the best quarterback that has ever committed to Oklahoma State, hot take, in Zane Flores, what was he, a 3-star, one of the biggest jokes I've ever seen, probably a 5-star talent. And then behind him, you've got Smith. That we were talking about him, like, is he a competition for Flores? And the answer is yes. You got him behind. You're going to redshirt him this year. He's going to be amazing after Flores. We've got 5-6 years of quarterbacks. I don't care about some dude that's going to go to TCU, not start for 3 years, start a single season, throw 23 interceptions, and then transfer as a grad to freaking Texas State. I don't care. And then when you look at the running back situation, we have the best running back in the country. We have one of the best running back developments in the country, maybe the best. If you look at the talent that you bring in and then the output that they put out, we haven't had a bad running back here with the exception of a single season in the last decade. Not concerned. So the 2 players that we lost, congratulations. You then, and I'm sorry, I'm going off a little bit here. But then you look at the commits we have. I want you to think about this, okay? The 1 4-stars we have right now, right? Riles, the defensive lineman beast, but by the way, should be a 5-star, but he committed to Oklahoma State, so he won't be. 88, 88, 88 rated. Guess what Smith is rated, or Riles is rated? A 90. 2 off. You have 3 3-star commits that have committed to Ohio State or Texas would be rated 4-star right now. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. The recruiting class is fine. They want to make it look like it's bad because they want Texas Tech and TCU and these Fort Worth Texas teams to look Baylor to look better. So they're going to highly rate these kids that are honestly not even close to being good as Riles, who might be the most underrated commitment in Oklahoma State defensive history. Nardo's still cooking. We still got tons of players on the precipice that'll come in and end up being great. Ollie Gordon was a low 4-star. Remember that. And every single person who ever scouted him in the history of life said he was pretty much a perfect prospect, and yet he was rated a 4-star because he committed to Oklahoma State. If he flipped to Texas, I can guarantee you he would have been rated a 5-star the next day. This is, I don't care. That's my answer. Gundy knows how to get guys. There you go.
You spit it so good. You had Trent going over there. I thought Trent was about to break out in a freestyle. You had him vibing.
My apologies.
You had him going.
No, I mean, bravo. You said it. I think you caught on fire for a minute, to be honest with you. But yeah, no. All I wanted to say was to Zone. Yeah, I don't think TCU offered more money. I think it was more so his parents are alums of TCU.
Yeah,
and so
I was going to.
That's what he said. That was the reason why he was switching over. But to be honest with you guys, Reagan was straight spitting. I don't care what anybody says. Zane Flores is the truth. I said that 3 weeks ago on my Twitter. That guy is the future of Oklahoma State. Like, if I was a senior coming into my freshman year, I wouldn't want to compete against Flores or Smith. You know, you're going to be sitting on the depth chart for 3 or 4 years. Yeah. So it's like, why not? I don't blame him at all for going to TCU, and so that's why I don't make a big deal out of it. It's like,
where he won't start either. Next year he'll transfer, so just remember that.
And that's fine, and that's what I'm saying. It's just like, it's one of those things, like, with how college football is nowadays, I feel like recruiting, losing guys to other schools isn't necessarily a big deal because you know they're going to be in the portal in a year anyway.
Yeah,
so a year or two, like. Go ahead.
Well,
I was just gonna say very quickly, by the way, if I know Mike Gundy and I know his mentality and I know this roster, and God forbid I know Casey Dunn, this guy probably came and said, "Hey, TCU's doing this for me," and they're probably like, "All right, bye. You're committed to us. Come here or not. We want committed guys." That's Gundy. That's Dunn. That's been their mindset forever. Is if you're not 100% committed, we don't want you, and that's hit us hard sometimes, especially with, for example, like Jim Knowles not wanting to offer him the money because he was 50-50 on being here. That's not the point, though, is that it's had its successes. Ollie Gordon, he said, "I'm 100% committed." So we gave him the money. If this dude was like, "Hey, I'm 100% committed," next year he would have got his money. But instead, he decided, you know what, I'm going to go to Fort Worth and I'm not going to start. So again, I'm not concerned about it. Gundy knows what he's doing. He's the most underrated recruiter in the country. Year in and year out finds ridiculous talent. I'm not concerned.
Well, and that's another thing, too, that we can touch on. We all know that Gundy, like Reagan kind of just said, the showboat guy could be like, "Oh, I want this money." Gundy's one of those coaches like, "Okay, you want paid? Come in and prove it. You got to prove it. You got to earn your start. You got to go out and prove it. If you want to be paid, we're not just going to throw away money." OSU doesn't have blue blood money just to be thrown around at guys who we think have potential. You got to come in, get in the system, prove yourself, and then if you want to get paid, go out and earn it. Go get a payday. By all means. Gundy's not that type of guy. Yeah. He's not that type of guy.
I'm not paying no freshman $260. I don't care what star they are. If I'm Oklahoma State,
no way in hell would Gundy ever be like, "Okay, yeah, we'll pay you that much money to come be 4th string on our bench for 3 years." Like, whatever, you know what I mean? Third, fourth, no way.
Guys,
no way. 100% Orange. It's 100%. That's why I'm saying I do not stress him leaving. Like, it is what it is. I don't wish ill will towards the guy. I would never do that towards any commit who was committed and flipped, other than that Ronald dude that went to USC way back in the day over OSU. Running back was named Ronald something Ronald. You guys remember what I'm talking about? No? Running back out of Texas. He was committed to OSU. Yeah. He ended up being really good too. He played in the pros for a while. What's his name? He played for the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
That guy I have ill will towards.
I will say as far as the Schobel thing goes, is I viewed it even from the get-go kind of like an Oklahoma State fan, right? And if I found out that I had multiple legacies, you've got his uncle, right? You've also got his dad. Both Aaron and Matt Schobel are in the TCU Hall of Fame. They also have another brother or Uncle Bo Schobel that did a lot at TCU. So I get it. You know what I mean? It would be like a multiple year legacy having multiple family members not come to Oklahoma State. I get it. The money, of course, makes sense, but he had all the family ties. The minute John Schobel chose TCU over Oklahoma State, I knew that with all the family ties, it was going to be difficult for us to keep Adam. But, I figured we had a decent shot.
Have fun.
Ronald Jones the second. Yeah, good call.
Ronald Jones, my man Zone, keeping it real. He's putting these facts out quick for me. I appreciate it. I knew it was Ronald something. I can remember. That was years ago, man. I was pretty upset about that though.
You're saying what he reported, and he's close with the team. I'm assuming you're talking about RA. Some great schnitz. Yeah, that's right.
That's what you did right there. The schnitz. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Good stuff. That's cool.
OG OT coming through with the comment of the day thus far. Yeah, on paper we will look pretty good. All right, so hey guys, we got some time here. We'll shift gears here to segment 3 in a second, but before we do that, I got to jump back off here and remind the fine folks it's yet time again to pay attention to you being the MVP of everything throughout the course of the season. You have to win with eBay Motors. eBay Motors is going to help you get there with over 122 million parts to choose from. It's no doubt who's going to help you keep your ride or die rig alive. Whether it's speed, power, or performance, eBay Motors has got you covered. With the eBay Guaranteed Fit, every part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With eBay Motors, the objective is to have you burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need, the prices you want, it is very easy for you to turn your rig into the MVP today. Bring home your next big W with the eBay Motors. Go to ebaymotors.com to keep your ride or die rig alive. Again, that is ebaymotors.com. Go there now. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is available for U.S. customers only. Because you guys are special here in America, just like we are special to have Mike Gundy keep this staff together the way that he has, which is what brings me to this next point here. I think one of the biggest things that has allowed us to have some of the success early on in this recruiting cycle has definitely been the fact that, we have a lot of the continuity and consistency in the staff. Let's just paint this fancy picture of Oklahoma State winning the Big 12 title this season and punching their ticket to the CFP. Whether it's a 4 seed, 5 seed, doesn't really matter. If Oklahoma State does that, you have a Big 12 title in hand. You launch yourself to the CFP. And let's say that the 24 defense even has a slight semblance of being able to get close to 2021's defense. How many coaches stick around for the 2025 season? We've done such a phenomenal job, Mike Gundy has, in retention on the staff and making replacements when necessary, like Paul Randolph or Greg Richmond. But what do you guys see? It can't last forever. We can't keep every coach on staff forever. I think some people, I'm going to raise my hand, would like Casey Dunn to take his talents elsewhere after the season. but it's not just going to be Casey Dunn. If we have the season that we expect or anticipate we could have, our coaches are going to become a hot commodity. We'll start with you, since you had the giggles going. Reagan, what are your thoughts on how this season ends up in the staff department when the season's over?
That's a hard question.
That's why I ask you the hard stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So, I'll start kind of with the main I mean, obviously Gundy's never going to leave until we kick him out the door, and that's fine. And then defensively, Byron Nardo, I think, would be the person I'd want to protect the most if he is able to be successful, because I saw a lot of bright spots last year, and I was a pretty adamant defender. I think that he has a ton of potential, and it showed it during the fourth quarters, which I think is extremely similar to Knowles. People don't want to talk about it, but it's true. So we'll see. I think that if he does have a successful year, you better have learned from your mistakes, and you sign him and you pay him. We have the money. Stop pretending we don't, Oklahoma State. We don't need athletic dorms. Just pay our coaches, please. So know that we're all about the facilities, but I can assure you the facilities will come if you have long-term, genuine playoff-based success. Okay, so that's my opinion. Nardo's number one. Casey Dunn, don't care what happens. Hope he takes his talents down south. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Okay. And he basically has the easiest job in the history of life this year, and it's going to make him look better than I think he probably is. And that's handed off to Ollie Gordon with the best defensive line in the entire country, and watch him work. Problem is he's going to do it so much and so often that it's going to lose us a game when we run it up the middle 32 times in a row. So it's going to be really fun. Casey Dunn, don't care. Hope someone takes him. And then you move down the line and you look at the quarterback coaching room, the assistant coaching room, which is where the offense really is successful. And I want to keep all those guys, or several of them. I'm not even going to go into it because I don't want to reveal inside information, but there's a few of them that definitely should be our offensive coordinator, at least up for it, that aren't, and are actually the people making the plays possible that you saw towards the end of last year. So there's a lot of smaller guys that are not getting paid that will leave that we absolutely have to retain. And Cody, you know exactly who I'm talking about. I don't need to get into details here, but I think what we need to be more concerned is about the people under Casey Dunn that were the reason for our success towards the end of last season. And we'll see what we end up doing with that. But yeah, I think that's my opinion.
It's a nice little shout out to Trayson Wallace. I like it. What do you think, Trent? How do you think this season directly affects the coaching staff? Right, because Dan Hammerschmidt, he is an absolute must to hang on to, as is Tim Duffy. I know they've been here 13, 14 years, but do you think it lasts forever? Or what about Joe Bob Clements? A lot of people thought that Joe Bob probably could have got the job before Brian Nardo. So now that Brian Nardo's kind of taking this thing and running with it, I know Joe Bob loves being a Cowboy, but he could be a guy that gets a DC spot pretty quickly. What do you think about the staff in conjunction with the season we have upcoming, brother man?
You know, honestly, one question that I've always had, and a coach on our staff that has always been sneaky good, and I'm surprised, like I've never heard any other programs trying to come poach him. Maybe they have, it's just been under wraps, but is John Wozniak. That guy produces running back after running back after running back for Oklahoma State.
Yep.
And I never hear anything about him. He's just kind of that quiet guy. I mean, he seems like a super good guy. He's obviously a phenomenal coach. That would be, in my opinion, our biggest loss if it ever happened. And I'm super shocked that we haven't, like I said, the coaches haven't, or colleges haven't came and tried to talk to him. Maybe they have. I just haven't heard. But I don't foresee any coaches being poached after this season, regardless of our success. You know, perfect world. We could bring in a new OC and demote Dunn back to wide receivers because he's a phenomenal receivers coach. I wish we bring back Todd Monken. That'd be perfect role hire for me at OC.
That'd be nice. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, but you know, Dunn's not going to go anywhere. Dunn, you might hear some smoke about him leaving. He's not going to leave. Dude. He has the perfect setup. Him and Gundy are like, he's not going to leave. It sucks. And I think he does have potential to be good, but I agree with what some of the people are saying in the comments. I think he just has brain farts sometimes. It's like, dude, we have too many talented players on our roster to be doing these vanilla bland playbooks. And I tweeted about this the other day. I said, bro, why is OSU's playbook on NCAA 25 ass? Everyone said Casey Dunn's vanilla. And I'm like, that's my point. It's like, bro, we have too many good receivers, too many good players on the offensive side of the ball to have such a vanilla offensive play calling book. Like it baffles me. It baffles me. I don't get it. I don't get it, bro. I really don't. But no, Wozniak, I think that would be the guy that is super important. But like I said, Joe Baum, Clemens, we have some really good coaches that are super loyal to the program, super loyal to Mike Gundy. So I don't foresee them leaving. I don't foresee anybody leaving after this year. Even if we do make a college football playoff run, I just don't see it.
Oh, dying down here, man.
Everybody, make sure that you guys go follow both of these fine gentlemen out on the socials. We'll make sure to let them plug themselves. So now that we've hit all segments, right, this is the fun time. Sometimes this is where we turn it over to the comments section. For everybody that's been commenting, I try to put as many up here as I can while we're rocking and rolling. Sometimes some will get lost in the shuffle, but I wanted to – what was the one that I wanted to hint? It was a question about Trent Allen. Or somebody said earlier who's going to be the backup. It's definitely going to be Trent. Sessy's going to be able to provide quite a bit as the lightning package guy, right? But, guys, Trent Allen is a beast of a dude. I think another question was how fast is he? Well, there was a clip that was put out earlier today on one of the social media platforms. I can't remember which one it was. But you can see that as I talked about on my show earlier today, he's not as elusive as Elijah Collins, but he's more elusive than I think people are going to give him credit for. Because when you look at him making the transition from Indiana, yes, he led them in rushing yards. And yes, he was able to rush for like 5.3 yards per carry. But he was also able to do it with a three-headed monster at running back. This season, I think we're going to see a lot more out of Trent Allen. And he's fast enough. Not quite Elijah Collins' speed, but I'd say close enough to be very, very, very dangerous. And you guys too, if you recall one of these comments we want to get to, feel free. Otherwise, guys, fill up the comment section and we'll let you kind of take away the show from here.
So is AJ Green, is he for sure done this year? Like he's out all year? Are we just going to redshirt him and hopeful for next year? Or what's the deal with that?
I mean, I've heard 3 months is the time frame. So, I mean, take that for whatever you will. I guess that means technically, he should be cleared for like the Big 12 title playoff run style of games. But, by that point in the season, Sessi Velahi should have had more than enough opportunities to kind of, solidify himself. That was another question. Are any of the freshmen running backs going to tote the rock this season? I highly doubt it. Rodney Fields has been doing enough to catch some people's attention. And then Jaden Allen Hendricks, right, walks in the building at 6'3", 235 pounds. But realistically speaking, we also have Kyler Pearson. And, the secret weapon at running back, ladies and gentlemen, is Zane Flores. Zane Flores, I would imagine, is going to run the ball this year, at least from a Wildcat packaging standpoint.
Nebraska, they fucked up, man. My French, but they really did.
They did. Nebraska definitely screwed the pooch. Pat Jones, great receivers. There you go.
I just wanted to say people aren't ready for Rodney Fields, by the way. If you have any concern about the future of our running back room, we're fine. I've been very high on Rodney Fields. He's undersized, but he's electric, man. I'm excited for that guy.
So last time I was in Stillwater, I got to meet up with some of the guys. Shout out to anybody who got to come out and watch Logan play some baseball. But I like to ask, questions about some of the guys. And I messed up in front of some of the dudes. I had made the comment that Rodney Fields was going to be a lot like Sessi, and he's going to be a very good lightning package to the Thunder packaging. And I got corrected very, very quickly. They're like, no, Rodney Fields is not a lightning guy. He likes to run us over. Like, he will gladly put his face mask through somebody. And that was something that a lot of people, didn't really see coming, myself included. I expected him to be a scat pack that, got the body by glass for a year and a half or so before he could really hit the hole hard, kind of like what we saw at Sessi last year. But I got corrected real quick. Rodney Fields has introduced himself to the ball club very, very quickly and very violently from what I've gathered. So, yeah, Rodney Fields might be a freshman that, if necessary, could definitely see the field this year.
Yeah, Rodney Fields is legit. I don't know. I'm very high on him. I'm excited for him. So I just wanted to point that out. I think he's super legit. The whole Oklahoma State running back room is the deepest in the country, by the way. That's the scary part. Like people talk about talent and stuff like that, and they're like, well, Oklahoma State doesn't necessarily have the same talent as these other big programs, and y'all just don't even understand how deep this roster is this year. I know this is out of nowhere. You brought up Alan Bowman and Zane Flores taking over for Wildcat. I have my hot take of the year is by the end of non-conference, Zane Flores will be competing for the starting job, if not have won it, because I think he's going to go out and we're going to put him out against South Dakota State. Hopefully, please don't have another close game against FCS. Hopefully against South Dakota State, and he's going to get some reps because Arkansas stinks. I'm just being frank. I don't know, man. I think Zane Flores is the future, and I'm of the perspective that him or Rangel, we'll see how Rangel does this year, how he develops. But I'd love to see Zane Flores take over because I think he's the future and he should be starting now, in my opinion. But I understand you have a super senior roster and you just kind of want to put the guy that knows it best. But my hot take.
Yeah, real quick, what about Jaden Allen Hendricks? Again, he walked in the building at 6'3", 242 pounds. So yeah, he's physically ready to rock and roll, but because he is the same style of a running back that Ollie Gordon and Trent Howland are, I don't know that we're going to need a three-headed monster to be the power guy, which is going to give him an ample amount of opportunities to just kind of take it slow. Now, physically, yeah, he could run the rock if we needed him to. The problem that you typically run into is going to be ball security, right? And I think that's something that we were going to want to see a little bit more of from Jaden Allen Hendricks before he's thrust into a playing scenario. He's Ollie built. Yeah, for sure. Was a hell of a coach. And you know what, Trent, I think you're 100% right, man. People don't talk enough about John Wozniak and the fact that he's another dude that has been here for pretty close. I think he's right at a decade or 9 years. And his time at Oklahoma State, pretty much every dude that he's coached is currently in the NFL getting carries as we speak.
Currently or was, that's for sure. But
yeah, because Chris Carson too.
Let me ask you guys this.
I wish.
Is it crazy of me to think that Flores has a chance of being the starting quarterback at the end of the year? Like, is it really crazy of me to say that? Like, I feel like everyone's so bought in on Bowman, and I just thought to myself for all summer, I'm like, regardless of how our defense last year getting up all those big plays, like I said, I believe in Nardo. I think it can be fixed. I really think Bowman is that piece to this team that is going to make or break this team. And so with Zane, from what I've heard, he's progressed so much. I don't know, man. Call me crazy, but I just think he does have a chance to potentially be the starter by the end of the year if Bowman is not playing as well as he should be. But I could be wrong. Like, I just believe that much in Zane Flores, and a lot of people do not know much about Flores, and I promise everyone that kid is going to be very, very, very good.
I will say, though, the thing about Bowman is that this is going to be his first time, maybe, I think, ever in his career to have back-to-back seasons where he's not injured. So I'm curious if that will help him put something together, because I think the biggest thing that we need from Bowman is when he gets a shot to throw the ball in those play actions, he needs to hit the mark. Because there are a lot of times he overthrew open receivers down the field. I think Presley was down in production because of it. So I would like to see Bowman just be a little bit more accurate downfield, and if he can just hit the play actions when we need him, it's fine because he's senior and he has that leadership quality to him. So that's all we need from Bowman. But I think if he's not able to produce that, you could see a change for sure.
From the little bit I was able to see in spring, he's definitely improved.
I don't know what it is about Bowman.
And OT, I don't think he takes a bunch of hits because we have 172 starts returning on the O-line, not even taking into consideration Jason Queso-Brooks, Taylor Materko, and Isaiah Glass as well. So
incredible.
Yeah, I think Bowman's going to have more time. What are your thoughts on Bowman this season, Trent? Like, I know that you are very staunch in Zane being the future, and I don't think anybody would disagree.
Like I said, I just like any other fan, I want Bowman to be successful. We all, in our heads every year, we picture this perfect season for Oklahoma State. So I really do. I hope Bowman steps it up, and I'm glad to hear that you say that from what you saw, he looks better. I don't know. Like, I think he has potential, and I don't hate the guy, but gosh, dude, just watching him throw the ball just drives me nuts. It's like the ugliest thing. I don't know what it is, but it literally drives
That's disrespectful.
me nuts. No,
the only thing about Bowman that drives me crazy is how much he throws the ball away. That's the only
off
thing
his
that
back
bothers
foot.
me. Yeah, that's the only thing that bothers me.
Drives me nuts.
That's what I think. That's the difference between him and Zane. Is Zane would take off with it, but that's all.
Correct. Yeah. Y'all don't get OT. Don't get Tom in here going on Crawdaddy Bowman now.
Crawdaddy, come on, guys. Be nice to this. He's a golly.
Crawdaddy. Hey, listen. Crawdaddy can AARP his way all the way to the Big 12 title game. I'm okay with it, fellas. I'm okay with it. But hey, before we kind of wrap this thing up, I think we can all agree, isn't that a very rare stance? We're having a debate on, wouldn't it be cool if our QB3 is the complete future of the program? Guys, how many times have we had a QB1 that we were deathly afraid of breaking a nail and us going back down to a 7-8 win season? If Alan Bowman goes down, I feel very confident in Rangel. And of course, most of the fan base feels very, very confident in Zane Flores. If you haven't seen some of the clips of what Melake Smith has been able to do, it's already ridiculous. He spins the ball at a crazy pace. And then if you look from, far away, he looks like the tallest, biggest quarterback of the bunch. And then again, of course, Garrett Wilson. We're fine at quarterback, which is why the Adam Schobel thing, means a little bit more or a little bit less. Alan Bowman, he said, yeah, he's got to cut out on the interceptions, but I think alongside with
there actually, but go ahead.
The base and the platform and the offensive line, and I think the weapons at wide receiver and the way that we're able to utilize them should help us maximize that as well. What were you about to say, Reagan? Go ahead, boss.
I was going to say that I feel, and I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty confident in saying that a good portion of Alan Bowman's interceptions were on third downs, just trying to make something happen, because the play calling was so anemic, especially at certain portions of the game. And you don't have anyone open, but you have good protection, and it's third down, and you can't run with the ball because all teams had to do typically was just put a guy in the middle to protect from Ollie, and they just zone there. And he would force some things. I think that's his thing. If he just didn't force a few passes trying to make a play happen, he'll be fine. But at the end of the day, I do think that the interceptions are a little bit blown out of proportion because so many of them came in just like third down scenarios or bombing it deep or whatever. I didn't. There was only a few where I was like, God, that was horrific, Bowman. And the ones that were horrific were game-changingly bad, of course. But I think overall, I think the INTs are a little bit blown out of proportion because of the play calling, but I won't say anything further than that.
I agree with Travis 100%. Travis's comment, what he said. I think if our opponents are stopping the run and holding Ollie down, and we're down two scores, we're in trouble. I don't think Bowman is not. He's not a game changer. He's not going to come in and lead us back. And that's the scariest thing about this year. I think we're going to see a lot of. If Ollie is being shut down, I think we would see a lot of screenplay, like short slants or outside, just because Bowman, he's not consistent, like can throw the ball 15, 20 yards down the field, get those big plays. Like it's not who he is.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. And I know OT Tom will if I am, but he was pretty reluctant, right? We talk about him leading Oklahoma State forever and, how many yards into the stands. But he was very reserved on his TD to INT ratio till not quite halfway through the season. But basically what I'm getting at is when Alan Bowman was asked to do more, that's when we saw the interceptions creep up and having double-digit interceptions. Right. If I recall correctly, it was just like the last 5 games of the year that his interceptions really got out of hand, and that was because we're asking him to do more. You know what I mean? We couldn't rely on just Ollie, especially late, right? Because we knew he got banged up coming into the Texas game. Matter of fact, right? Some people recommended him not playing, and then he carried that over. He was a little more healthy going into the bowl game, of course, but Yeah, there's a decent amount last season that I think Alan Bowman got in bad spots when he was asked to do more than just manage the game. Would you guys agree or disagree with that assessment?
I agree with that assessment, and it's why I think that there's zero harm in going with a young guy because Bowman isn't necessarily having to take a leadership, do it when it matters role anyway. He did it against OU, and that's about the only time I can recall him doing it. So in my opinion, what is the harm with going with a Rangel and giving him a chance? Because next year is Flores' year, and everyone knows that. So why not give Garrett Rangel the start for the year, see if he can do anything? I get it. I get it. It's one of those weird situations where Bowman came back, and what do you do as a coach, right? But I think that Rangel deserves to start this year and see what he can do, and then if he doesn't work out, you put in Flores, because I just don't see the harm in it. We're going to be running the ball 70-80% of the time anyway, but that's just my opinion.
You really think we're going to be running the ball that much?
I mean, Gundy says he's going to run it 50 times against South Dakota State. So
I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a millisecond, man.
Well, if you don't count screens, because we'll run about 37 of those a game. But outside of that, if you don't count screens, yes, I think that most of the play calling will be runs.
I actually think that teams are going to load us up in the box so often that we end up in an advantageous passing situation.
Sure.
And that's why I think we're going to be so deadly. Yeah. We're going to ask people, in my opinion, we're going to dare you to put 7-8 men in the box. Because if you do that, then I don't think you can stop, DeJon Stribling and Brendan Presley and Rashad Owens and Talon Shetson and Dajuan Lofton. You know what I mean? So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario, in my opinion, whenever you're trying to stop this Oklahoma State ball club. Trent, we got you back in here, buddy. Are you frozen? Are you alive? What are we doing here? A little bit of everything. It's okay. Well, this is probably a good time to give Wet Blanket a thank you, buddy. I'm so glad that you finally came around. All right. We hate it when Bowman throws the ball in the stands and keeps us in the game as well, right? It's frustrating. It's annoying. We're over it. It's championship winning time. Man, Trent's having a rough go, I guess, buddy. Careful and relying on Ollie. Yeah, well, I mean, I think we can. I think we can lean on Ollie, brother man. But again, I think it's one of those scenarios that if teams force us to throw the ball, we're going to be very happy to oblige them. As long as Casey Dunn doesn't get in his own daggone way. Right? That, I think, could be the thing that sends everybody over the edge. Yeah, Bobby Reed. Bobby Reed's good people. Good dude. Friend of the show. What about comparing the offense? Yeah, you know what? We'll do that. So now that we officially have the season up and going, during the season, right, I try to go live weekly. And then this year, I might do a deal, Reagan, and we'll holler at Keaton as well. But thinking maybe do some like live reaction to games because we could all be collectively breaking stuff simultaneously.
You don't need my live Casey Dunn reactions on you will get taken down.
Well, no, there's a reason I haven't done it yet, right? It's because I don't typically like to, let the vulgarity just flow. But after a couple shots of Jack, watching Casey Dunn's, yeah.
Tell me about it, man. Hey, I'm just excited about football. I don't even care. Just give me football. Oh, I'm one of those fans that can put Oklahoma State to the side if I have to, which I'm praying I don't have to do this year. But, I love it.
Well, you know what, buddy? This has been a ton of fun. I'm glad we're able to do this as fall camp has begun. Obviously, you guys noticed Trent had some difficulties. You need to give him a hard time and tell him that's the problem with moving to Iowa, right? If you leave God's country, Stillwater America, you're asking for problems with the internet. I know it. The great state of Colorado, don't even get me started, buddy. But everybody, make sure that you go follow Trent on the social medias. We'll have him throughout the course of the season as a regular on the live shows, as well as Reagan. We'll have Keaton pop up in here as well. We'll have several guests throughout the course of the year. But, yeah, dude, let the fine folks know how they can get a hold of you and see what you're up to.
Of course,
Mr. Reagan.
OK State Mart on X is number one way. It's if you're looking for Oklahoma State content. In fact, it's the only way you're going to find me. So, yeah, that's it. And then you can also catch me calling games on KREF this year. So if you like high school sports in Oklahoma, I'm pretty well connected in that area, and you can listen into that.
And if you don't like high school sports in Oklahoma, guess what? You suck. With that, I reckon that's all we're going to have for this one right here. Wet Blanket, you the dude, OT. Appreciate you popping through. Robert Pierce, Y-Zone, everybody else in the comment section, we appreciate all of you. Make sure you tune back in. We'll start to do this thing a lot more regularly as the season is getting ready to rock and roll. Reagan, I appreciate you. I'm going to give Trent a home. Make sure that you do so as well.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Tell them to move.
Until next time, everybody. This has been it's been a lot of fun. We'll keep doing this. This is going to be a big year, right? So make sure you're tuning in to have fun with us throughout the course of the season. And if you do catch us live, and you catch the I don't know, the bad words, don't judge too harshly. Alrighty, y'all. That's all we're gonna have for this one right here. As always, you know I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. It's been a blast. Catch y'all tomorrow. All righty, y'all. Later, taters.